Hey guys, so a bit of a spontaneous video. This video wasn't really planned. I got a little surprise in the post today. I got my ADHD self-report kit, basically. I use the word kit because they've sent me like 8 forms to fill in. A couple of the forms have to be filled in by a partner and a parent, or either or, depending on what you have in your life. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start filling this in, and I'm going to go through a couple of the questions. I mean, we've here actually. You know what? What I'll do is I'll go through what we actually have here. So here we have the adult ADHD self-report scale for symptoms. Adult ADHD self-report scale symptom checklist. Now, I've done this before. This is a very common one that the specialist will probably use on you initially to determine whether or not you are a candidate for ADHD. This is kind of the pre-screening screening form. What the fuck did I just say? Is it cold in here or is it just my nipples? It was fucking burgled. Anyway, then we have, this one doesn't actually have, oh yeah, the WES Functional Impairment Rating Scale Self-Report. So this is one that I have to fill in, and basically it is questions like problems performing required duties, problems with getting your work done efficiently. This is all in relation to work. So this has 7 categories. Family, work, school, life skills, self-concept, social, and risk. And basically measures, asks you where you rate yourself in all these categories, and each category has like 8 to 14 questions, and it's all things like in family, are you having problems with family? Work, are you do you often get fired from work or have problems keeping a job? School, problems taking notes, problems with being late, things like that. Then we have the Wender Utah Rating Scale, the WURS. This one is more for you to assess yourself as a child. Going from, questions like, as a child I was active, restless, or always on the go. I was disobedient with parents, rebellious, sassy. And you can rate yourself not at all or very slightly, mildly, moderately, quite a bit, or very much. Then we have your behavior skills. So you get a couple to fill out yourself. So here I have one for my current behavior scale. So this is basically just asking me questions like, do I fail to give close attention to details or make careless mistakes in my work? Do I feel restless? Do I avoid, dislike, or am I reluctant to engage in work that requires sustained mental effort? This is one of my course studies. So yeah, and then I also have my childhood behavior scale. And then there's a couple more for current behavior scale, which is to be filled in by a partner or a close friend or somebody who lives with you. Just somebody who basically has known you for a very long time as an adult. And then there is one for parents, but I'm not going to show you that one because my mother's already filled it in, and we'd like to keep the score a secret. Confidentiality and all that. But yeah, so basically with this one, all the questions on the behavior scales are all the same. So this is kind of a cross-examination exercise, I guess, for the specialists to see, where your self-perception rates with the perception of those around you and those who know you intimately and well. And this one was a bit of a bugger for me. This is the really big form. Like, this one to me looked quite intimidating, and I kind of thought, like, Jesus Christ, I really hope this isn't me that has to do this. It's gonna take a lot of coffee. It's only like I don't know, like what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 8 pages long? So to the average person, that's probably fine, but to me, I'm just like, no, honey, no, just, yeah, no. I want to go play some Ark. Yeah, this is the interview for adult ADHD, and it's to be filled in by a parent or another adult, i.e. a partner or someone who has known you very well for a long time. Basically, this asks the interviewee questions based on your childhood, and then it asks you to compare them to their adult behavior. So for example, it goes through a list of symptoms like is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. You rate yes or no as a child, and then it asks you how it is now, and you put down same, better, or worse, and then you've got a little box to fill in some comments in case you have anything extra to say. So this one asks you for a lot more detail, and there's also a section at the very end where it asks you to add, if you want to add any other details in case any of the questions require elaboration. For me, this was a bit of an odd one because I live in Scotland and my whole family lives in Northern Ireland, and the only people who've known me from childhood into my adulthood, basically there's nobody. My parents, I speak to my mother every day, but she only sees me like once a year. So for me that was pretty problematic, and I kind of thought, you know, how am I supposed to get an adequate, you know, fill this in adequately so they can get the information that they need. So I contacted the line that was on the letter to speak to somebody about it, and they got back to me very, very quickly, which was great. And they just assured me that if I could just get them to fill it in as best to their ability, and then just make sure that I write notes on the form that, you know, they don't really, you know, if they don't have a comment about my adult behavior, you know, write down, you know, that it's because they haven't really been in my day-to-day life for the last 15 years. Which my parents haven't, because I haven't lived at home in Northern Ireland since I was 22, I want to say. But yeah. So yeah, what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to go and fill this bit of this in just now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this very simple one here. The current behavior scale, self-report. This little one here. And we'll see how we get on. Instructions. Please circle the number next to each item that best describes your behavior when you were a child. Please rate your behavior between 7 and 12 years of age. That is difficult because I had to get my mother to fill this one over the phone. And I honestly, it kind of shocked me, the things that she had to say. She didn't really say anything that made me feel bad. Or, you know, she didn't, she's my mum. She doesn't want a little boy to feel like a bad boy. But, you know, there were just things that I just didn't remember. Like, because as a child, you're not very, especially 7 years old, you're not really self-aware of anything. You know, your own behavior. Your behavior is pretty normal to you. So it's only when maybe you look back on it and you compare yourself to maybe other people's kids. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Right, item number 1. Failed to give close attention to details or made careless mistakes in my work. I'm assuming they mean homework by that, but I'm going to say never, sometimes, often, or very often. I'm going to say very often for that one because I never, ever did my homework. I was always like, honest to God, I don't know how I got away with that. Pretty much, we'd have homework daily, and I would never ever do it, ever. Fidgeted with hands or feet or squirmed in seat. I would say very often because I had a teacher in primary 1 who used to kick your chair if you moved too much, and you would literally fall on the floor. And I remember that very vividly. Had difficulty sustaining my attention in tasks or fun activities. Now this is a difficult one because if I find something fun, I'm usually very focused. If it's another person's idea of fun, maybe not so. But I'm probably going to say... I might say often for that one simply because I can get pretty distracted. I mean, today, for example, I was trying to play Ark. And I literally was getting up every half hour because I've had a very, very agitative week. and I've just not been in the right headspace. Left my seat in classroom or other situations in which sitting was expected. I would say yes, very often. I was always wanting to go to the toilet, or, you know, I would get up at the doctor's office. I hated having to sit still. I really did. I always wanted to do something, especially if there were toys in the room. Didn't listen when spoken to directly. I was a little rebel. Well, I guess, I mean, no, that's another interesting thing. My mother actually said that I used to zone out a lot. And that surprised me because that's not something my mother ever brought up to me. Especially when I tried to explain to her what the symptoms of ADHD is, because she doesn't know an awful lot about it. So I'm going to put down, I'll put down very often for that. Because in class as well, I remember being in school, that was pretty scary. The teacher would literally point at me and ask me to recite what they had just said every time. And I would just go white as a sheet because I had no clue what they were talking about. Absolutely no clue. I completely forgot that I was in the classroom. I don't know where I would go. Off to some magical land somewhere. Restless in the squirmy sense. Yep, very often. Didn't follow through on instructions and failed to finish work. Very often. Had difficulty engaging in leisure activities, doing fun things quietly. Very often. I fucking hated PE. Ugh. Primary school PE was very different to secondary school PE. Very different. Like, we used to get to play things like dodgeball, which I fucking loved. I was like a dog with a tennis ball with that game. But when it came to football, any kind of sports, anything that actually required you to focus on where the ball was going, that was just, no way, man. Like that, I hated that. Had difficulty organizing tasks and activities. This is one of my course studies. Felt on the go or acted as if driven by a motor. I don't know. I actually don't know. How are you supposed to know? Because when you're a kid, you're a kid. Do you know what I mean? You just think that, of course you're always on the go. Kids are always on the go. I mean, I'm going to say very often because I was an outdoor kid. I loved being in the trees. I was always getting, bruises, sore arms, and cuts, and, even, this is probably why I have such a high pain threshold as an adult, because I was always getting cut. I was always falling out of trees. So the pain just doesn't bother me that much. Avoided, disliked, or was reluctant to engage in work that required sustained mental... I need to read that sentence again. Avoided, disliked, or was reluctant to engage in work that required sustained mental effort. This is one of my course studies. I'm going to say very often for that. I mean, what it's asking me basically is if the task required a lot of mental effort, would I avoid it? Absolutely. This is one of my course studies. Like maths. Oh my god, I hated mathematics. I hated mathematics. I still don't know my times tables to this day. I actually don't. I remember telling that to a tutor in college who was trying to get me through some basic math qualifications, and she was completely shocked that I didn't know my times tables from, I think, times 6 to times 9. Don't know them. Talked excessively very often. Yes. I was always getting in trouble in school for talking. Always getting in trouble. I was not allowed to sit near anybody that I knew or anyone that I was friendly with. So they sat me next to my bullies. Lost things necessary for tasks or activities. Pfft, Jesus, yes. Every time, my mom hated buying me new toys because I would lose them all the time. Very often for that one. Blurted out answers before questions had been completed. I would say often for that. I don't know if it's very often because I was very quiet in school. I didn't like to speak much. I used to get bullied for the tone of my voice because I have quite an effeminate voice. Every time I answered the phone, people thought I was a girl. Which didn't bother me because I actually kind of wanted to be a girl when I was a kid because I thought girls were awesome. They were more fun than boys were anyway. I'll say sometimes for that one because I honestly cannot remember. And I do know that in school, I was very quiet in school. Very, very quiet. Easily distracted. Yes, very often. Had difficulty awaiting turn. I would say often for that one. I've had to develop my patience as an adult. I really have. I'm not a patient person at all. I don't like waiting. Even when I'm in a doctor's office, I will wait patiently, but I will squirm, I will twist my feet, I will crack my knuckles, I'll maybe pace up and down. Like, I just can't, I hate having to sit still. Forgetful in daily activities. I don't know. I do know this is a symptom, though, that is getting much, much worse. I am forgetting an awful lot. Especially in the last few weeks, it's been really bad. I mean, I must have been. I don't know. I'd say, yeah, like, how are you supposed to know? I'm a fucking 34-year-old man. I'm supposed to remember if I was forgetful at the age of 7? Come on. I don't like this. I'm going to say often for that one. Interrupted or intruded on others. I was always in everybody's business. Or if people were... In fact, this was an issue at university. I remember going out for dinner with some people from university, and I was kind of new to the group. I didn't really know anybody, so I just decided to randomly turn to my side and start conversation with somebody, and then the girls I was trying to talk to basically got really angry with me and said, do I mind they're having a conversation? And I thought, okay then. And then I left. Fuck them. So I'm going to say often for that one, because as a kid I just liked to let people know that I was there. Okay, so there is another section after this that asks you to basically, to what extent did the problems you may have circled on the previous page interfere with your ability to function in each of these areas of life activities when you were a child between 7 and 12 years of age? Areas: in your home life with your immediate family, never or rarely, sometimes, often, or very often. I would say, just based on the conversation that I've had with my mother as well, I would say very often. Because I was at home a lot. I didn't really like going to people's houses. I like to be in my own space a lot of the time. In your social interactions and with other children. Do you know what? This is a memory of mine that has stayed with me to this very day. And I remember when I was a kid, I always wanted to do. I hated sports, but I always wanted to do martial arts. I just love it because I was obsessed with the Power Rangers. Obsessed with the Power Rangers. So I told my dad I wanted to do martial arts, and my dad thought, okay, great, I'll sign you up, and we'll go this weekend. I think I must have been 5 years old at the time. And so we get there, and everyone's really friendly, and there's loads of kids my age running around, and the sensei, who is basically the instructor, teamed me up with this other little boy that was my age, and we had a blast. I remember having a blast. It was such a good time. We were throwing each other about, we were rolling around, and it was great. And then the next lesson I went to, I got really excited because that boy was there again, and I thought, oh, there's my friend, awesome. So I ran up to him, really excited, hopping up and down, like, hi, and he just stopped, looked at me, and I remember this word for word. He said, oh no, not you again. And then he ran away. I was like, I was so heartbroken. That whole lesson, I cried my eyes out. I didn't know what I'd done wrong. He seemed to like me the last time I see. It really messed me up. It really messed me up. So I would say often for that one, because there's been more than one occasion like that where I've just not understood what I've done wrong, and a kid has not wanted to hang out with me, and I just really was oblivious to what I'd done. In your activities or dealings in the community. I didn't really have a community. I mean, I lived in Shitsville, Northern Ireland. I mean, that was, unless you were a hardcore loyalist and you were in the bands, you weren't part of a community, My parents didn't mingle with other parents, really, unless they lived on our street. There was a lot of segregation where I grew up, because we lived outside a really rough council estate, and we lived in our own private house. Parents from the estate didn't want anything to do with you if you lived in one of those houses, because you were considered a snob. So, but like, you know, we all piss and shit the same, don't we? They didn't see it that way. I would say very often because, again, there was this strange thing with a lot of my friends' parents. They didn't like me, and I didn't know why. They would usually get very angry with me if I was in their house, or they would tell me to leave. One parent grabbed me by the t-shirt and just threw me out of his backyard. I was literally just standing there. I have no idea what I did wrong. When it came to social interactions, when people would get angry with me, or, you know, other people's parents would get stressed with me, I just had no clue at all what I'd done wrong. I always thought I was a nice kid. You know, all I ever wanted to be, I just wanted to be people's friends. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I wasn't a malicious kid. Maybe the odd time I was a little bit malicious, you know, but we're not all bloody angels. But like, I wanted friends. I didn't want to like piss people off, you know. So I'm gonna say very often for that. In school, yes, absolutely. In sports clubs and other organizations, yes, I'll say often, because my whole childhood, because I wanted to learn martial arts. I still fucking do want to learn. I love martial arts. But I would go to a club, go to 2 lessons, and then never go back. And then I'd join a different club. 2 lessons there, and I wouldn't go back. I mean, I did the bloody cello in first year of high school when I was like 11 or 12. Don't know why I wanted to do that. Oh. In learning to take care of yourself, I would say yes, because I was not equipped at all when it came to looking after my mental health. My mental health seriously began to decline around the age of 10, 11. That's kind of, I guess, when I kind of started to become a little bit more self-aware. I'd say yes, very often for that, because, you know, if that includes social dynamics as well, then absolutely it affected my play, leisure, and recreational activities. I was a very loud kid. Like, my mum, you know, even if I was playing by myself in my room, I'd be playing Buffy or I'd be playing Power Rangers, and I was just throwing myself about the fucking room all the time. In your handling of your daily chores or other responsibilities. I never did any chores. My parents really tried. They tried so much. But yeah, I would say definitely. I became better at it as a teenager, definitely. You know, but at that age, yeah, you couldn't get me to load a dishwasher or wash a car or anything like that. No way. Did I once wash my dad's car in Fairy Liquid? The dishwasher soap? And he went fucking apeshit at me because I took all the paint off of his car. I'll say often for that, because I avoided chores as a kid. I really did. My mom couldn't get me to do anything. So yeah, that's that done. Okay, so I've got quite a few more forms to fill in. So I think I'm gonna try to keep this video as short as I can. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and crack on with the rest. So yeah, that's me basically en route to being assessed again, or continuing my assessment. Let's send this away in this tiny little envelope. Okay guys, well thanks very much for watching, and I hope this was informative and entertaining. And yeah, have a good day. Ciao.